Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Hold the Mic. We are your hosts. I'm Ryan. That's Ian Sherman. Brother, how are you
What up?
doing?
No, man. I'm feeling good. You know what? I like when you talk about math. That's what I like. I like when
Math?
math I like when math is mathing. Is all I
I
have to
love
say
when
to you.
maths.
You know what I mean? When
Oh
math
yeah,
maths. Let's just say that again. When math
we
maths.
the math has to math.
But
I am so excited about this. I even told Ryan, I got really giddy last week where I was like, I can't wait for next week. He goes, okay, but we have a show today, Ian. And I go, okay, yeah, I'll focus on that. But David, I am so excited to have you on here. I reached out to you months ago when I caught wind of you on TikTok and I said, we got to talk. And you were like, say when. And I'm like, okay.
And then I was like disappeared. I hid away.
And then disappeared. Hey,
Just-
you were cramming the numbers, you were
I
checking
know.
things out, you were seeing what's going on, you're looking at the analytics. I can't be mad at you. And I said, let me follow up and let me check in on you and make sure that you know what that you're not in El Salvador. Let's just say that.
Oh
All right.
God,
oh,
yeah,
jeez.
that's
At
a
first
real
I
the real
said,
fear these days.
hey, at first I was like, he did ghost. I go, I got to see. Is he around? So here we
I'm
are.
still
I'm
here. I'm
glad we
still here.
found you.
Yeah,
David,
yeah,
thank you.
we're on
Welcome to
time
the
for
show,
once.
man. Welcome to
Thanks,
the
man.
show.
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to get this out here and actually, share what we've been finding and kind of go over because I do think it's important work and kind of the reason that I've been digging into things so much because I genuinely care about the future. Like I grew up in a good time and I want that the same thing to happen for my child and
Mm,
everybody else.
I like
Yeah,
Right?
that.
yeah.
So I
Fighting
should
for
have asked you that.
democracy.
I should have
Yeah.
asked you this in the green room, but how
Yeah.
do you correctly say your last name?
My name is David Manasco. I'm a data
David, let's
analyst.
go.
Got a
Gotcha.
master's in data analytics, and ever since November 6th, I've been digging into the election because my gut tells me something isn't right.
And we were saying before we came in here that I was so glad to have you on here because Ian was the one that really made the connection. But after reading and researching about you guys, I said after the election, so many of us were saying something feels off.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't
100%.
don't necessarily know what it is. Can't necessarily put my finger on it right now,
Yep.
but just my gut feeling is, like as Ian was saying, the math ain't mathin'. Something feels off. So David is a part of the Election Truth Alliance, which
Hmm.
is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization founded in December of 2024 when multiple individuals came together to share independent data, analysis, and research into the results of the 2024 U.S. presidential election. As concerning trends emerged from our shared data, they moved quickly at the speed of trust, which I love that, to make our findings more accessible and understandable to the broader public. And so that's what Ian and I were really interested to do is we are trying to just build a community. And one of the things I like to say is we're not trying to start a cult. We're just trying to educate.
Yep.
And that's why I think the work that you guys are doing over there is so important because we need to have data backing up what we're saying. We need to be realistic about what's happening in our elections. And once we are enlightened, we all must be empowered to do something to fix it. So thank you
Oh
for
no.
joining us on the show tonight. Really looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of data, I mean, real quick, what I was going to say was, for me, like the data that I was seeing did not match my reality, and that's really what grabbed a hold of me and brought me and like really has kept me going since November because now we're in April now, and it's 6 months later. I'm still digging into things and still finding things actually.
Yeah.
So it's I want to be able to just or valid reconcile reality with the data. That's my biggest. I want to reconcile
Yeah.
reality because if it doesn't look right and things are not right, people know, and that's why we're here, and we want to make sure we have trust in it going forward. We want to make sure
Right.
that, I mean, who knows what, because Trump said a lot of shit like we won't have to vote again, so who knows what the hell is going to happen.
Hey,
Hopefully I'll
He
trust
also
in it
said
going
it was
forward.
rigged, David. So that's the part where you're like, well, wait a minute. Is that a senior citizen moment or is this like he's
Okay,
just
so
jumbled up,
if we're going
So
to go
that's
back to being rigged, here's my high level theory about what really
we
happened.
lasted 5 minutes, guys.
I
Not
know.
even
not
five
5
No, I'm
minutes.
minutes.
not. I'm just in general. In 2016, Trump won with 12% chances, and I was flabbergasted. I was like, I believed Hillary was going to win, and she was going to. It was a commanding. I was expecting the same result this time, and here we are, back in the same place as
Same boat. Yep.
2017.
Yeah.
But here we go. So I think Trump believes it was rigged because it's one of those confessions. They're always projecting, they're always confessing as
Yes.
to what they're doing. So he knew it was rigged in 2016. That's why he won, and that's why there was a shock he won. And in 2020, he says it was rigged because it didn't go his way because mail-in ballots, and here we are. I actually listened to the book written by Ken Block, I believe his name is, and he's the data analyst who worked for the Trump campaign trying to disprove the election in 2020. And he wrote a book, and it was an interesting listen. Some of the same things we're doing he didn't do, and we're finding things that he didn't find in 2020. So like it's, he was focused on mail-in ballots, which I said, green screen, I think, or green room is mail-in ballots pretty safe. I mean, I think that's the safest way to vote personally,
Right.
but that's here. But we'll continue on. So sorry.
But I mean, for
No,
me,
that's
I've
amazing.
I've voted mail in. I think I've voted mail in every election except for one.
Hmm.
In Obama 2012, I wanted to go do that one in person.
Yep.
But every other one has been mail-in ballot, and I started doing mail-in when I was in the military. I was
Yep.
in Okinawa, Japan, and they were sending
Thank
me
you for your
ballots.
service,
Oh,
because
thanks,
that's
sir. Appreciate
no,
that.
I never have, but I'm thankful. It is important, and it is something that we should, thank you. That's all I gotta say. Sorry.
Oh, thank you, David. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I was getting my ballots over there, and
Yep.
all the people I served with, most of them all got their ballots, and we would talk about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's been happening for decades. It's nothing new, and if anything, it's probably been improving over the years, not deteriorated,
Correct.
and gotten less secure. So yeah, I've never really bought into that, and I think going into what you're about to inform us is that's one of the reasons that they signed this election integrity bill or whatever it is he signed. It's because, like you just said, they can manipulate the numbers a lot easier if there's no mail-in ballots. So,
Well, yeah, you say you voted in 2012 for Obama. How do you know your vote got counted? That's the biggest thing, and one of the things that we're trying to, mail it, hand count ballots, hand marked ballots, because we don't have any way. I voted here locally, but I don't know truly that my vote made it in the correct place to the recipient of it, right? And so that's one of
yeah.
those concerns, and that's part of something we really need to do because we have the technology to do it, but you know it's a double-edged sword, I think. Yeah.
And just for a disclaimer, we're
Yeah.
talking about the popular vote. This has nothing to do with the Electoral College because in the end, the Electoral College can just do whatever it wants anyways.
Correct.
So if they want to go against what we're doing right now and how this is
Sure.
kind of playing out, they can still be like, man, nope, I'm
Sure.
going to
No,
put
that
my
is
weight on this guy.
correct.
But for the fact that for Trump to get the not only a couple of swing states,
So,
but all of the swing states,
yep.
the popular vote, and to have this, and now for this fool to be calling it a mandate that the American people have spoken.
It's like
Yet
they overdid it. It's like they
Yep.
oversold it.
They overdid it.
That's exactly what my gut has been telling me. Like,
Yeah.
literally, it just does not match the people. Like everybody I've
No.
talked to, we have people in Clark County, and Clark County actually is what kind of kicked off the ETA. So you want me to just go into the history of how I got involved and
Yes,
everything?
please.
Yeah.
Tell
Give
us.
us give us this.
So, I was on vacation the day after the election, and I was at home looking at the election returns. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, something's not right. We went on vacation. I'm sitting out and I make a TikTok where I'm saying, what are the statistical odds that Trump wins 7 swing states and the Democrats win the Senates from all of those states? Because if it was swing state that Trump won, the Democrats won the Senate. So like, and the votes were flipped. So I'm like, what are the odds that happened? And that TikTok actually is what blew up and kind of, started me down that path that I was on the right path forward. I made a couple TikToks after that. And then in mid-December, I was headed out to a dinner with my wife and her friends, and I randomly stumbled across Clark County, and they released the CVR, which the CVR is the cast vote record. So it's the individual votes of people. So it tells you where, the tabulator was tabulated on, the precinct the person lives in, and how they voted on each, president, Senate, all the way down, even the abortion, all the ballot initiatives. So they released that information, and that was like a wealth of information. So someone on Reddit, where I posted it, actually picked it up and ran with it, and his name is So Good, or Jive, and he is the one that kind of like organized the ETA actually. So he started digging into Clark County, and he messaged me and said, we've been digging this. Do you want to do like a group? Do you want to join a group? And we're gonna, alliance, and we're gonna get together and share all our findings. Bounce ideas off everybody and just go through everything. So that's actually how ETA was formed. Is Jive, something I posted to Reddit. Jive picked up on it, started doing an analysis, then got back and said, "Do you want to do it?" I'm like, "Let's do it." And so from then on, we've been going.
So how does it feel to be an Avenger?
I mean, I'm just an election Avenger. I just want
I like that.
election
I like
Avenger.
that.
I love it.
You got the shield or the robot suit? That's all I need to know.
right,
Which
that's
one?
right.
Which one are you? That's all I need to know.
I'm definitely Data. So I'll be the man in the chair. That's my.
All right. My man's Vision. He's Vision.
I'm Vision. There, I'll take
Vision.
it.
There we go. I got
like
you.
that.
It's been interesting to there was a big subreddit called Something Is Wrong 2024 because the data was wrong. So we were like something is wrong 20. That's somebody I was on TikTok, so I was like, go check out the Reddit. I'm like, what Reddit? And I went over there and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, these are my people. So I started posting on that, and that's how push came out. At the end of it, here we are, ETA. It's been an interesting ride, and I do think we've got a lot of stuff in the works right now. Nathan, who was supposed to be on here tonight, unfortunately he was not able to, but he was on the Christopher Titus show yesterday, so that'll be coming out shortly.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Yeah, he's been on Roland. He was the one that was on Roland, not me, I believe.
Okay.
But he's the one he's got a lot more time.
You guys are getting the word out now, which is the best, because I reached out to you a couple months ago, and like I said, I was just like, okay, when you're ready and when you want to get your data out there, when you want a safe space for really to like, you're not going to be, attacked for being like, here's the math. This is what it is, and I'm like, it was a good conversation we had, which I was like, let's take this off TikTok. And that was right before they're going to ban it. And then, and it was one of those things where I was like, hey, reach out to me this way, just in case this gets banned, because I definitely want to stay in touch. And I wonder, like, are you being overwhelmed with a lot of people trying to DM you?
Not as much anymore, but it's just there's always like I spend most of my day, if I'm either working, if I'm not working, if I'm at home, I'm like looking at election statistics, which it's my current hyperfixation. My ADHD says let's keep mining that dopamine hit. So like that's what I go back to all the time. But I mean, honestly, the biggest thing is it's been so easy to find red flags. Like there are more red flags than a Trump rally in this data, and that's what it shouldn't be this easy. Like a data analyst, it shouldn't be this easy to like find these patterns and stuff like that. Humans are chaos agents. We do not do things. We will find ways to mess with things. And when you see this perfectly ordered data or stuff that just does not make sense, like as the number of votes goes up in Clark County, the percent that goes to Trump is 60%, whereas Kamala gets 40%. So like there's like that divergence. The more votes, they kind of like hit this other line. And it's just those type of patterns. You don't expect to see it to look this clean, it to look this, pristine. Like one of the charts I made and put on TikTok, someone said this looks like a Power BI demo because it literally was the most pristine normal distribution ever, and you should not have that in the real world. Like that's
so I think this would probably be a good time for us to go ahead and show some of that information so that people can actually see what we're talking about. And I'm going to tell you before you put it on the screen what I thought just very quickly as you were showing us in the green room was somebody just copied and pasted things and just said, let's take five off here, 6 off there. Like I've seen that before, you know.
Yeah, everybody's we are lazy people. I'm a lazy. I mean, I am a lazy son of a. Let's be honest. Like I am that. I've got ADHD. I don't want to do anything, and if I want to do something, I want to find the easiest way to do it. So when I was in middle school, I faked a science project and made the regional science project. I faked an experiment because I didn't want to actually do the work. I'm not saying I condone that, but I mean, I did it, when I was a kid. So I mean,
and which school and year was that, sir?
No. Okay, that was at Horace Mann Elementary School, and
Smith.
But we got a comment here from Old School Evelyn, 1983. It says, "Yay, I'm a supporter of the work ETA is doing. I'm so glad they are talking to more people because many of us woke up feeling something was wrong on 11/6/2024.
Yeah,
so you guys are definitely not alone. You have so many of us focused on the work that you guys are doing. So we appreciate your ADHD and all the time.
Superpower, man.
Yeah, it's a superpower that we're all benefiting from right now. So thank you for putting in all that time because whether you guys are getting donations or whatever, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of folks, And a lot of these organizations, the people that are putting in the time, they're not getting reimbursed
Oh
much,
yeah, we're all
if anything.
volunteers. We're all
Exactly.
volunteers.
So
All the money that we have is going to our
to the
lawsuits and
operation, exactly.
lawyers really.
Yep.
We have stuff in Las Vegas, Clark County,
Not yeah. Tell
and
people what you guys do with your money.
yeah. So if donations are being utilized right now to fund lawsuits, legal challenges, we have one go. We're working on one in Clark County, Nevada, which is our biggest data set. Like that's the one that started everything, and that's kind of the one where we have locals on the ground that say things don't match up to what the vote turnout was, and so like that's one of the big ones. We're also basically we have a couple lawsuits we're going to be filing and sourcing lawyers in Pennsylvania. We saw the Pennsylvania data that was released to the
That's right.
website.
Yep.
So we have a retained lawyer there, and then we'll be working on trying to get. We want to just verify. We want to verify the vote and make sure that what was the votes that happened was the truth. I got a shirt. I made the shirt literally this afternoon, but it's like it says "truth, vote for one." And it's backwards. Oh, sorry. Facts and feelings. Because we have facts or feelings all day. But like
That's right.
we want to make sure we want the fact. We want to be able to validate and back up the facts and make sure that people's votes count. Because if our votes don't count, then is this a democracy?
Right. And that's the thing. You're really trying to focus on what happens next for the
Correct.
next election. There's nothing we can do about the past. The past is what it is. We got. Here we are. We'll look at the math. We'll learn from it. And hopefully we'll course correct. But reality is, how do we move forward together? And how do we make sure that we can trust the system, especially with the way it's going right now? How do we even implement more trust into this system? Because it seems like we're really on shaky legs right now.
Yep.
It really is. We are at like a turning point in our country. It's a tumultuous and a scary time, but I want to be able to be grounded in data and like be grounded in that reality, because I know I can trust the data and I know I can trust that is the truth. I want to be able to trust that as the truth. I trust actual reality,
That's the
but also
closest we're going to get to the truth.
I need them to equal each other, right? If they
Right.
don't equal each other, then something is off, and that's kind of what brought me in. And you can go ahead and share. I'll kind of go. What drew me in is locally here to me in Shelby County, Tennessee. The votes just do not seem like they showed up this past election. Our turnout was down 10 to 11% from previous, 2012, 2016, and 2020. So I was like, something's going on. So I want to dig into it further. So I put this together. I made a couple TikToks about it, but ultimately what we can see is in 2024, we switched from Premier AccuVote TSX to ES&S Express Vote election system. Premier AccuVote was owned by Dominion, because when ES&S bought Premier Diebold originally in 2008, there was an antitrust lawsuit and they made them sell it to Dominion. And so AccuVote was a Dominion product and ES&S Express Vote is the new system. Our turnout in 2020 was 65%, and in 2024 it dropped to 54%. So I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Where did the votes go? It doesn't match. I saw people. I work downtown. I see a lot of people out voting. I saw more than 50% of the county show up, and that's kind of what brought me here. So what I started doing is I started digging into it, and I found some things that are really concerning to me. So like this is an election district 67, which turned into 1107, and you can see the map is exactly the same. So they're the same district. The Democrats, they had 2,900, 2,200, 2,200, then 1,700. We lost 491 votes between 2020 and 2024 in this district. Republicans lost 3. Total votes were down almost 500, but registration was up. So this precinct had a 42% turnout. This is just one of many. Here's another one, Ross 13, same thing, 2,200, 2,800, 3,000, 2,500. Republicans gained a little bit. Democrats lost about 520. Total votes were down about 500. There's more registered. So this was 12% they lost in turnout. Same thing here. 17, 18, 1,200. Another 550 votes disappeared. Registration was up. This precinct had a turnout of 37%. And it was sitting in the 50s in 2012, 2016, and 2020.
Wow.
Yeah. Here's another one, Memphis 88.3, which turned into 0609. 1,800, 1,500, 1,800, 1,349. Total down 523. More registered 95 from 54 to 40. Now 2016 there is a 46% there, but it's still 2020 in 2012 were about the same. So this one is not as slam dunk as the other ones, but it's still concerning to me, and
So
that's
noticeable.
still very noticeable. And here's another one that's, we lost 423 between 20 and 24. Total regs went
Like
up.
you literally
It's
go
another,
back to like 10 years prior numbers.
Yeah.
I literally pulled these. What I wanted to focus on is because we did have a census in 2020, and with that comes the redrawing of districts. They redrew the
Right.
districts everywhere. You know how many states had to deal with their gerrymandered districting. Wisconsin had to throw out their district map,
Georgia.
and yep, Georgia,
Florida.
all
Yep.
of these places. So what I had to do is I had to find precincts that did not change in that time frame. A
So
lot of
this
them
is not gerrymander. This is not changed from gerrymandering. This is
these
not.
are not changed at all, and
Man,
that's
that's
what.
such a. I'm
Wow. So I
so
was gonna
glad
say,
you.
Yes.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
so interesting. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. And so that's really,
So the numbers are controlled then.
I mean, I did not say that. I'm just
Well, no, I
presenting
mean,
what
but I'm
Ryan
just saying.
said who said
No,
that?
but what I mean is you're comparing oranges to oranges.
I wanted to make sure I control. I may want. Yeah, I did control. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I controlled as many factors as possible to make
Right.
sure we were able to see that thing, because I do think
Yep.
that some of these redistricting and stuff like that will hide what's actually going on.
Yeah.
One of the things when we're looking at Clark County is, because we found their CVR, we know how everybody voted on each individual machine. And I was able to actually like reverse engineer how everything was laid out. So I know exactly what location someone voted at, and we can look at those, patterns. But what happens is we have all these concentrated early voting sites, and then the votes get like spread out to all of the precincts. So they have, we have 10 early voting sites, but the votes get spread out to over, a couple thousand precincts or whatever. So the picture goes away at that point. But
Okay.
when you're looking at because obviously if you think it's going to be more concentrated at the machine at that level, if we're seeing that pattern emerge, but then when you spread it out, it's hard to find that. It's hard to see that pattern, that trend across everything. And so, that is Clark County, but here in Memphis, I didn't see Trump did not have as big a presence here as he had in the past. We are a
Mhm.
Democratic town. We're surrounded by red, but we are a Democratic county. But the vote totals disappearing kind of was like my biggest red flag, because when you see it having us a 44 or 54% turnout from a 64% turnout, that's like, wait a
Right.
second, why did
It eats
10%
away.
not show up?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
didn't mail in vote a lot in 2020. Like a lot of people just still showed up. Like our mail in totals didn't change that much. So that doesn't account for that huge dramatic shift that we're
Right.
seeing.
Interesting.
Yep. And so, oh, sorry. So what I was going to talk about, this is like, what this is like count of precincts by dim share of the vote. So down at the bottom, you can see like 95%, 90. So these are heavy dim precincts, right?
Yep.
And so the solid lines are the old voting system, the Premier Diebold system. The green dotted line is our new ES&S Express vote. You can see these high 95% plus precincts disappeared. There was one, I think, total precinct that was over 95% Harris in 2024. And they all got dropped down. You can see these were all in line, but then they were just scooted down a couple percent. You see,
Interesting.
all in a trend here, but now all of a sudden this is the new system here. So, those type of things is what realistically was my driving factor. Is I just don't feel like things changed that dramatically for me here, but the data tells a different story. The data tells me we are dramatically changing.
Even though ETA has been created during this election, you really are taking data over the last decade and comparing it. So it's not like you're just like, okay, look at the data right now. This is what we're compiling. You're actually
painting a much bigger picture.
Bigger picture.
And I
see
think
how
that
things have changed.
I think that was the problem with 2016. We are just now, computers have been around realistically like everyday life since 2000 and early 2000s. Data has gotten so much more accessible by everybody.
Yeah.
But I think in 2016 we didn't have that data going back, farther and farther. So I think this is really the first time we have had the data to actually dig into it as much as we wanted to. So that's why, but you have to be able to compare historical to present, because if not, you can't can't see something in a snapshot in time and say, oh yeah, this for 100%. You need to show that it doesn't match everything else that we're seeing.
Right.
So like this was, when we moved to this voting system, our votes disappeared and heavy dim precincts ran away. Like something doesn't make any sense, right? So what I also did is I looked at Davidson County. That's Nashville in Tennessee, right? So that's the county center, the state capital, the main other county. And you can see they went to ES&S express vote in 2020. You can see their heavy dim precincts disappeared in
It's
2020 and 2024. They're more laid down here versus up over here. And what it really is striking is what I wanted to paint the picture is it seemed like when moving to this new voting system, something didn't seem right. I wanted to tell that story.
Yeah.
And so what I next looked at was like the down ballot split behavior. And it's kind of where like I kind of had like one of those moments. So here is down ballot split by voter turnout. So like you can see 2020, it's kind of, Democrats are up. There's a difference between Democrats had more votes than the Senate race in 2020, but they all look about the same. But in 20, and then the split percentages here on the right hand side, but the bottom is the 2024 same chart, but 2024 now, our new voting system, and it looks 1,000% different. Like it does not look like the chart up top, right? And when you look out over here by voter turnout, because one of the theories is, and that's part of the Russian tail part, and you asked me to talk about Russian tail, so we can talk a little Russian tail real quick right here, is what they found with the Russian tail is higher vote percentage precincts, basically favoring the other way, right? And so voter turnout has been one of our, the x-axis on a lot of our charts, because the more votes that turn out, we want to see how that behavior is. But you can see down here on 2024, you can see it's like up to 40%. There's a lot of negative Republican splits. Then it starts to like ramp up here, and there's like a little plateau here between 45 and 50. And then once you get to 50, it kicks up, and 65 on, it's like right neck and neck with Democrats. And this behavior right here, this little stair step behavior, doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel grounded in true human voting behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things. Yeah, there were only 5. That's correct. Wait, one of those wouldn't. Well, fair enough. That's fine. So they say. Sorry, I'm reading the comment. So next, I looked at Chattanooga, Nashville, and Memphis, right? And you can see up top I have 2020, and on the bottom I have 2024, right? So up top, there's a lot of Democrats, a lot of Republican splits. This is Hamilton, which is Chattanooga. This is Shelby County, same chart for 2020, and Memphis, Tennessee, and this is Nashville. They were already on ES&S. This was their first year on ES&S Express vote. Now we have Chattanooga on ES&S, Shelby County on ES&S, and Nashville's second year on ES&S. These bottom two and this top right one right here, they look like they could be from the same election, right? They do not look like these are all part of the same group. So what my concern is, if these are all part of the same election, this is what happens the second year of ES&S. The Republican splits, the Republican and Democrat split percentage by precinct disappears even worse. And so like those type of things are what's driving, and what's, something's going on. Like the data doesn't match, the trends don't match. And it's to be, like I said, and I said this to Nathan when I saw it, the top right and the bottom two look like they're from the same same election. But in reality, this one right here is from the same election as these two. So does that
so
make
interesting?
Yes.
When you look at the patterns like this, and we're talking about what the Russian tail is, and for you guys who don't know, this was coined back around the 2020 election in Georgia, and also which brought it to the spotlight.
Okay, so hold on. The Russian tail didn't come up until 2023 in the Georgian elections, not Georgia.
Right.
Georgian election.
Election.
Because that's the one that they had to nullify.
But in 2020 was the Russia election that they.
Oh yes.
That's what they compared it to, And they were like, well, this looks like the same data of what's happening in Russia, which we all know are mock elections, because Putin is, just doing this little waltz dance with whoever he wants to put in the hot
It's
seat.
looking like ours are mock elections now too.
It's starting to flirt with him, man. It looks like we're doing the dance, especially with this other news of another data analyst putting out there, Daniel Bareilles, who just came out saying that Doge is doing something and sending information. So it's interesting that you data analysts are the ones who are really on the forefront, putting stuff out there, like really showing us what's happening.
Well, I mean, a data analyst, I obviously I analyze data for a living, and we have so much data that there's more data than you can even begin to comprehend.
Yeah.
So data analysts are going to be very important, but it's, I hope it makes a difference. I hope it makes a difference. That's really what I want to be able to say.
When you talk about who's saving democracy, it's not G.I. Joe. It's going to be you.
Fair.
Like, it's, when you look at the aspect of like how, when we're heading into the future like this, especially, looking at us going into like cryptocurrencies, when you're seeing it becoming more digitized, you're like, okay, this is where we're at. I mean, look at how we're doing this show. Here we are all online. Like everything is moving into this direction.
No, and TikTok. I mean, circle back to TikTok real quick. I think that's one of the things that I have found is it allows information to proliferate. It did before the ban. I don't think.
No, it's different now, isn't it, David? It's a little different.
It's definitely different. But there, after TikTok came around, they let everyday voices be heard, and we can communicate. We connect. Y'all connected with me through TikTok, and it's a means for people to connect. Whereas when I've tried to put the same videos on YouTube or Facebook or other platforms, they don't ever do as well. So like that's one of the things is TikTok allowed people to proliferate the information to proliferate in the data it gives you the reach that you needed.
That's why Republicans hated it.
Yeah. I mean, you could see the real power of bringing people together, and it's funny because
do we still need this up?
Oh no, we can kill it now.
Okay.
The ad that I made for this episode.
I saw the notification. It was banned. And I was like, okay.
I was like, banned. I go, wow. I go, just for writing the word rigged on it. I go, that's really interesting to see that they're truly trying to control information.
They definitely are.
Oh yeah.
I think they're throttling this episode because usually we're over 1,000 by now.
Oh
yeah.
Interesting.
I called Ian and I go, I have a feeling if we even put like rigged with a question mark that they're gonna, you
definitely have to be cautious. It seems like these days, which I don't understand why.
Why is it we have to be cautious though? But like,
it tells you we're onto something. That tells you we're headed down the right track. When that, and I
you guys are striking a chord.
We are. It's probably more realistic than it is. They have to throttle it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And that's what I'm telling everybody right now. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and share this episode. Give it to a friend. Text them this episode. Like, get it out there so people really know, like, this is happening right now. Because when you do see the data, which Ryan and I pay attention to analytics of this show alone, but with having a man like David here right now letting us know, like, when you see it being throttled, even just promoting this episode, we got throttled, or I got a warning, a gentle warning at that. Yeah. But when you see it, you're like, okay, you're definitely on to something.
So we were talking a little bit about comparisons and what you all are doing. And I hope the one thing you take, at least from being on here tonight, is that you all really do have a lot of support right now.
Oh, yeah.
Doing what you all are doing, meaning a lot of Americans out there want some answers. And they want it presented to them in a way that they can understand, and without the the political nonsense that comes with both sides of the aisle. It's like, we just want some answers. We want to know what the hell happened because this doesn't make sense. Now we got a guy deporting Americans and refusing to bring them back. Refusing to comply with Supreme Court orders that he doesn't agree with. Again, everybody that said, well, that can't happen. Everybody that thought the Supreme Court was going to be some kind of safety net for the American people. And for those of you who think that the military is somehow going to rise up against the president of the United States, I got a very large bridge in San Francisco I'd like to sell you. Our reality right now is that for for those of us who were on social media for a year prior to this election, begging you to either vote for Biden or Kamala Harris because Donald Trump wanted to be a dictator on day one, and you guys said that can't happen. Oh, he's just joking around. He wasn't joking. Like, actions speak louder than words. We see what he's doing. Like, we have Americans getting tased at town hall meetings.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is a sad and scary time.
We have whistleblowers coming out and saying that Elon Musk is taking data from all of the organizations and that he got access to and sending it to other countries.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk Elon real quick, there is some locality to me because we are in Memphis and I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, and XAI bought a old world
Twitter, right?
They did buy Twitter, but they bought a data center here, an old Whirlpool factory, and put the Grok, XAI's actual like model in it. Like there's 3 or 4 total locations where they have the model, the supercomputer.
So Grok is your neighbor, is what you're telling me.
Literally, he's polluting our water and burning more energy than he should right now, but it is what it is.
Great.
Is your utility bills going up?
I mean, they might at some point. Well, no, he's just burning. He's got 35 diesel turbine generators powering, and he was also have 18, and he won't show up to our hearings about it. But that's neither here nor there.
And for those of you wondering, let me translate that for some of you listeners, especially in the other countries that download. That's why they want to deregulate everything.
Yeah.
Because Elon Musk, he moved to Texas because he likes that Texas doesn't regulate much.
Right.
Okay. And just like David said, he's got a building that he's got too many turbines on for his AI, and he's being sued. So, what do the richest people in the world do? Like Jeff Bezos with his wall around his mansion in LA. Do they take it down? Do they abide by the law? No. They just sit there and they pay the fine every day.
Exactly.
Right. But also keep in mind too,
that must
Elon
be
blowing up all his rockets and stopping how many actual commercial flights from being able to travel wherever they have to go because of all the air pollution now, where it's all the debris. You're talking about all the now pollution of the ocean with all the debris of these rockets. So them getting rid of any type of restriction,
all the regulation
it's all about money, baby.
This is about to be,
you're gonna grow a second head. It'll be all right.
It's fine.
I literally have said this numerous times. I see how we become that movie WALL-E. Like, you just see where it's going in that direction.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, for real.
Between that and Idiocracy, I didn't realize they were documentaries.
Idiocracy was a documentary, I swear. I cannot
Speaking
watch
of
that movie
Idiocracy, and I'm only saying this because I just watched, 5 women get shot off into space in a penis-shaped rocket. But Jeff Bezos apparently wants to start shipping garbage into space. So smart people in the world think that the answer to our problems here on Earth is to start polluting space.
Yeah, let's just pollute everything else. Let's do that.
Now, if you Google, go on YouTube and spend 10 minutes looking for alternative ways to get rid of waste, you might find that other countries have developed ways to burn all that trash and turn it into energy.
Yeah,
I know, crazy fucking idea, right?
Let's not speak logically, okay? Let's just continue down this fever dream of America that we're living in right now.
Keep this on planet Earth. Stop trying to go into orbit, all right? You're not Space Force.
We're gonna my crazy Elon theory, right? Is he bought Twitter. How many people were using Twitter and now their private messages may be under control of Elon? There's a way he got power right now, so I'm a little sus there.
Yeah. I'll give you one better, David.
We call that the Epstein effect. But go ahead.
Yeah, there you go.
Jeez. So I've been on Twitter for years, and when they were doing the switch and all this other crap, they had us verify our ID. And I had to send it to them because I had 2 accounts that were impersonating me. So I had to verify that it was me for them to take them down. And I got an email back that said they had sent my ID to a business in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I was like, you can't even send our ID verification to America?
Right.
And by the way, while we're on the subject of American made and American jobs and, America first, Can we just talk about the fact that the president of the United States wants to send criminals to another country and pay said country to house those criminals?
We paid $6 million for 238 criminals to be deported down there. $20,000 about per criminal that went down there. That is 3 taxpayers, average taxpayers' incomes. So it took 3 Americans to pay for that one person to get sent down there.
And the money didn't go back into the American economy. It went into another country.
Correct.
So we
wait,
can't.
Are you telling me real quick that the man who's trying to bring back jobs in America is shipping out jobs?
They're shipping out the people so they can make Americans in those jobs again, you know.
Yeah. And simultaneously, why China's sending out videos going, "Oh, you like your Louis Vuitton bags? Well, look how it's made."
Man, this new level
listen,
of trolling.
I'm here for China with that.
Dude, their level of pettiness
Correct.
right now is, I love it.
First and foremost, let's just talk about JD real quick. For him to call them peasants, a country that's been around for 5,000 years, like we're talking about a culture that's been around for a long time.
And we ain't even
Like
250.
5 times our yeah.
You know, we're the little brother just talking shit on the
Correct.
playground. That's who we are right now. We are literally walking around like this is King Joffrey. I am the king. It's like you are no king.
Exactly.
You are no king. I'm telling you right now. When you're talking about calling them peasants, and then to see them actually create AI of fat Americans in sweatshops sewing Louis Vuitton bags and everything, all the goods, and then actual diplomats come on board and then call us peasants and let them know they own enough debt of America that they could end this immediately.
Yeah, they cripple us.
And and that's what spooked Trump. That's why he bluffed, because he saw the information.
Did he bluff? He raised it 245% today. So he's doubling down on China. Yeah,
I didn't even know if he did this. He did this today.
Sorry, it happens so fast. You know, we miss it some days. Dude, he's like a fly fisherman with these tariffs. He throws it out there, you know, kind of sees if it'll do something, pulls it back, and like, oh my God.
Now,
dude.
David, just so everybody knows that this is not just Ryan and I talking about this. Are American people, American civilians, are we constituents, are we paying the tariff, or is this just is China paying the tariff?
Oh, we are paying the tariff. Inflation is going to go through the roof. It's insane. Like the people that believe it's not, but it's the same thing. I struggle to believe that the data that is being presented to us is what actually happened in November.
Yeah.
Like I just believe I put my belief in what I can actually like see and stuff like that. And I can judge human behavior, and we are able to tell what humans are doing. And it does not make sense that we would be moving. You know, I was listening to a podcast talking about women's suffrage, and what it said instead of progressives, it's like conservatives are regressives. That's, Democrats are trying to progress, but the conservatives want to regress, and that's exactly that. It's the same thing.
100%.
They are trying to. We know it's not going to work. Stop trying to make the same mistake over and over and over. We've seen this play before happen in the 1930s, unfortunately, and that's one of the things that people are saying is ADHD pattern recognition tells us that we're going to repeat the same patterns, and we need to stop it. We need to fix it. We need to be if we can prove that the election had its issues, then I think that will empower the American people to stand up. Because if you've seen these town halls these Republicans are hosting, we were talking about not going well. But if you think that there was a potential manipulation with the vote, then that would be how it would go when things are not going right. It's going to be a lot more people are vocal, and they can wave it away and say, "Oh, it's paid actors, blah blah blah." But in the reality, it's what are the chances that Mitch McConnell's been elected X amount of forever, it feels like, in Kentucky. How does that
still in the same situation this entire time?
Nothing is changing.
Not getting better, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Like it does not make sense that we would vote.
Right.
People would vote against their own interest, and that's
some of it.
The majority. I mean,
no, you're right about that. You're right about that.
That's the we saw more, and this is what we were talking about earlier. Is if the election results that were presented to me was for Trump versus Biden, I probably would not be here right now, and I would not be digging into it like I did, because in 2016 I accepted it, Biden was older. They're both, octogenarians. They're both up there. I could see they don't have that energy. I could see this result being attributed to that
Right.
race. Kamala came out the gate, raised $1 billion, was packing out shows, packing out town, these things, stadiums
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is the results of it. Back to the same thing in 2016. So in 2016, Hillary Clinton didn't do all of this stuff and she had these
Right.
results. And in 2024, Kamala Harris did all of this stuff and she had those same results. You
Right.
can't tell me that makes sense. You can't tell me that's true, right? Like that's why I struggle and that's why I've been digging into it.
Have you gotten any criticism?
Oh yeah, lots. But go on.
Next question.
Don't even finish that one.
Oh, you're fine. You're good.
Have you gotten criticism to the likes of what Cyber Ninjas was in 2020, where here they are getting their hands on vote tabulation machines, dissecting them, making was it Maricopa County,
Maricopa County,
Maricopa County have to pay tax dollars to then fund
$9 million.
$9 million to install new machines, but then returning them in a parking lot. From Walgreens? Where were they at? Walmart parking lot. Are you guys being criticized in the fashion that you guys had this? Not you, but there was an organization that literally attempted to do what you're doing, epically fail to the likes of what this whole administration is today, where it's a lot of talk, a lot of grandstanding. Yep. A lot of magic hands, but don't look at what we're really doing. I don't even know if they even actually had any data.
And that's probably where I would to argue that we are different from them, because we are grounded in data. Like all of the those charts all of that stuff, we are finding actual verifiable data points and being able to produce those and inform the American public of our findings there. We weren't backroom, we haven't, I would love to get my hands on a voting machine. Don't get me wrong. That being said, I'm going by what data I have available to me. And I have to be able, because honestly, if what happens, and I might have to testify in court in Clark County about my findings and everything like that. So I need to be able to back it up, because I don't want to, my name is out there, and ETA's name is out there, Nathan's, Lily, Jai, all of us are out there, and it's our.
You don't want to look like Giuliani, is what you're telling me?
I don't want to. I'm not going to go in front of the Four Seasons landscaping and lawn and
have your dripping sideburns. You don't want the dripping sideburns.
No, right?
Oh my God!
But it's a real thing. I want to make sure that I can, because I want to make sure I can ground and I can back up everything I say. I want to make sure if I have an argument, I can defend my argument with the data.
Facts over feelings.
Facts over feelings all day long. Exactly.
Because it is. Being in Arizona, I'm not gonna lie. When I first started reaching or hearing about this, and Ian and I were talking, I'm like, oh great, another cyber ninja thing. But
I was rooting for you from day one, man. I'm gonna tell you right now. Ryan and I went at it. I was like, no, it's not the same.
But very quickly, like you said, the biggest difference is you guys have the data and you're willing to present it. Mm-hmm. You're not sitting there hanging onto it going, oh no, we're going to present it later. We're going to, you guys are like, this is the data that got me started down this road.
Right.
And now we're going to keep digging. Whereas Cyber Ninjas was, we have a theory and now we need to go find evidence of said theory.
Right.
Yep.
And all of their theories were ridiculous. And for those who need a little bit of reminder, so Cyber Ninjas came here to review the 2020 election because they thought it was stolen and that Donald Trump won Arizona. There were 13 fraudulent electors that tried to overturn it. So they were really trying to find evidence, not only because Trump needed it, but because there were 13 fraudulent electors here that were looking at federal prison that really wanted to find some evidence. Unfortunately, they didn't find any over a 9-month period. And on top of that, this seems to be a theme with Republicans. They took everybody's ballots and moved them to Montana. And when I say Montana, I mean to say the private cabin of the CEO of one of the companies funding the whole Cyber Ninjas thing. And then they brought them back to Arizona and like Ian said, had some kind of backyard drop off in a Walmart or something like that. So,
Only when they were threatened. They were like, you
but
need to bring it down now.
yeah,
Like,
they
you
were
put it
threatened.
in
But the
back.
best part of it was that out of all the information they reviewed and everything that they could come up with, that not only did they not find any more votes for Donald Trump, they actually ended up finding a couple hundred more for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
and
it was a
this
total waste of money, waste of taxpayer time. There was zero security. There were people, there were actual election deniers being allowed into the stadium where they were doing the count to
Right.
oversee what was going on. Like, it was insane. So there really is no comparison for those of you out there who may want to think the same thing that I did. These folks are putting in the time. They're finding the data to back up their claims. And as I like the way you said it in the green room, none of us are trying to get sued for spreading misinformation, especially about elections. We've seen how that goes for folks.
Can you share my screen again? I want to show another.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So, we did not limit it to Shelby County. This was one of the ones that we put, this one of the graphs we put out. There is a slight typo. The number of votes is actually one digit less. So it's instead of 300,000, it's 30,000. But what this was saying after by voter turnout, which is part of the Russian tail thing, after a certain voter turnout, the number of votes for the ruling, the unexpected party starts to increase, right?
Yep.
And so what we see here is when there are lower turnouts, that Kamala Harris and then the yes on the abortion bill in Miami-Dade. This is Miami-Dade, and this is the abortion amendment that they had on the election in 2024. So when they were below 60, you could see it's really in line with Kamala and the yes, right? And Trump is pretty much aligned with the no. But what happens at about 60 is they start to diverge, and you can notice the red dotted line starts to creep up. And so here at like 75%, Trump is now overperforming yes, and Kamala is now underperforming no. And this only happens at, it starts to get really, really messy up here. And it's just like, how many people vote in a precinct change to voter ideology?
Drastically.
That drastically. And that's one of those, one of those things that we have seen and put out is like those type of things is just like, just doesn't make any sense to me.
Why is this the pattern where it is a Russian tail, where you always see that bump on the back end where it goes up? How is it that it's implemented? And I love when I was on your guys' social media that it showed the two glass vials that then it shows you a red M&M and a blue M&M, and then it started showing you the calculation of well, for every blue, one dropped, 3 went into the other pile, and then started really lifting up all of the side, the opposite side, the opposition, the other team. So
it's probably ballot stuffing. Realistically, it's probably ballot stuffing. That's the only way it would make sense. And when they ballot stuffed, they the lower numbers, the lower questions or whatever, like abortion, they probably just did that at a flat 50-50 on those extra Trump ballots, and thus that's why you start to see that overperformance.
And you start to see it on the back end.
And
it's really quite interesting. But this was the most simplest way to understand exactly what you guys are finding and how it's all coming together right now.
And I don't know if you know this or realize that, but we had something kind of similar, I think, here in Arizona. So we had.
You did. I did that too.
Yeah, the abortion ballot. No, I mean,
I did.
David's on it.
I'd love to see that because
if you guys get a chance, go to election Election Truth Alliance social media and look at what they're putting out there right now. Yep. Just put it on there, go subscribe, check them out. They're really dropping a lot of information.
But for those of you who don't know, that don't live in Arizona like I do, so we had an abortion measure on the ballot here as well, and
139,
and it passed. And we have a Democratic governor. We have a Democratic AG. Unfortunately, the state house is still held by the Republicans. But again, it was just so odd to see the abortion thing pass, to see all these Democrats win down ticket, but then Trump wins.
Yep.
Yeah.
I kept saying, I was like, I'm not going to say Arizona's blue, but we're a really good shade of purple right now.
Right.
And that just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. We can talk about Arizona. And one of the things that I found here was this was what I said. This is Arizona RLA is a risk limiting audit, which was completed in the different counties where they have to go and they have to hand count ballots and report those results, right? And so I was digging into it here, and you can see it's hard to read here, but like these are like
No,
the
no good.
example of the hand count reports and whatnot. So I was trying to explain, but you can see notice that appears the vote total for Prop 138 was reported as the opposite. So like there's a bunch of different things I found issues, but basically down at the bottom, when we start to put it all together, we see that based on these early vote audits, the estimated presidential early vote total from the sample was 958 Democrat, 836 Republican. The Senate numbers were at 938 and 807, and the percentage was 52 in that. So the difference between estimated percent and percentage was right here, but the reported results were completely different. It was you can see the reported results were actual reported early vote totals. Harris had 881, Trump had 897, and 25,000 went to the third party. But our estimated based on these the RLA, the risk limiting audits, should be 5346. So that's how I get that math. And that's when we figured that out. Like this would explain why there was a flip between the Senate and Harris. Something got flipped in the back end because the numbers also are about the same for Prop 139. And the other issue with these risk limiting audits here is you can see like it's just a manual thing. Like they just type things in Excel because this right here has more votes than possible because there's only supposed to be 187 to 200 total ballots per hand limit, and they said there was 287 here. And then down here it's flipped. You see all these are low numbers and these are high numbers, so they're saying it's flipped down here. So these are just these type of issues show up and it caused doubt and caused us to be like something is up, right? Like this just does not make sense. Like Maricopa is what I originally started digging into and made like 6-minute long TikToks, and it just was weird. And people said it wasn't weird, but then I think it actually was all along because the risk limiting audits tell us a different story. And that's really what we're trying to use, is trying to use the data that's out there for us to try and see what we should be seeing, right? What we expected to see, and the risk limiting audit matches what we'd expect and not what was reported to us.
Yeah.
When I looked at Maricopa, actually, what I interestingly found was the U.S. or the President, Senate, and U.S. House of Representatives. The down ballot differences between President to Senate, and then Senate to U.S. Representative, and then U.S. Representative to President, there are some precincts where they're exactly the same. Like the number of down ballots is exactly the same, and it flips here. And that just those type of things just do not jive with what I would expect.
Yeah.
It's just
So
yeah.
I think the last two questions I personally have for you before we start wrapping it up is one, do you personally have you personally found anything that leads you to believe that Elon Musk may have dabbled in this at all? And my second question would be, even seeing where this is headed, that you guys are likely finding some abnormalities, we'll call them, in voting numbers. Is there anything that we can do? Because, of course, Kamala would have had a period of time where she could have tried to get recounts in some of these, especially the swing states. So is there anything at this point that the American people can even do when we have this information?
There actually is. So I'll circle back to the Elon question, but on our website, the electiontruthalliance.org, there is a voter advocacy package now or whatever, which has letters to specific states and like a framework for people to go and plug their information in and send it, demanding, we need to try and get hand recounts. We have a petition right now to try and get hand recounts in Pennsylvania. And really it's we need to not sit by, like we are at the point where we are in they say we're in a constitutional crisis right now, but it's apathy is going to be our downfall. So if we just sit home and not do anything, then we are going to go exactly. Nobody's going to just come and fix things for us, right? And that's really what 2024 after November. How many people thought somebody was going to come and shine a light? The audit advocacy toolkit right there at the bottom. Sorry, how many people thought that someone was going to all of a sudden it's going to happen. How many people will believe that Kamala was doing this, all of this, but at the end of the day, nothing really came of it. So
Right.
the American people, we really have to use our voice. We need to, not be silent and not be apathetic, because if we just sit at home and do nothing, then nobody's gonna fix it for us. They don't want to fix it, right? We obviously see they have no interest in making things better for everyday Americans. They are only interested in helping themselves, is what it seems. And it's time to make our elected representatives that are supposed to represent us actually listen to us and not dismiss us, like you've seen the Republicans saying, oh, well, you're suddenly so interested in government and all this stuff, instead of actually answering the questions. Is we need to not accept when people don't answer the questions. We need to not accept when people are not looking out for our interests, because if we accept nothing, all the nonsense that's happening, then we're not, that old phrase from the old quote, it says, first they came for so and so, and then I said nothing, and then the stories, like
we're living
it
now.
came for me, and there was nobody to speak up.
We really are. I mean, it's terrifying what's actually happening. They say they want to send homegrowns. They want to build 5 more down there, and that's what happened. In Germany, is they sent them to stateless places where people did not have any rights, and that's what we're seeing right now. That's what's happening.
But it was a takeover of the media first. It didn't start with the concentration camps.
Well,
it started
fake news,
with
right? Fake news.
Fake news. It also the grandstanding. Hitler, or excuse me, Adolf is also because I know that doesn't get banned. But in
the
general,
seeds were planted. The seeds were planted in 2014, 2015. Yeah, for this.
2012. When you look at it, 2012 was a shift, and things started to shift after. I mean, I hate to say it, and it's sad,
the black man.
Yeah, exactly. That's
no, we know. Yeah, we know, brother.
We know, David. I
know. It's a shame and it's sad, but at the same time, it's like we've seen it before. Let's stop going down this path. I feel like we're on the Titanic and the iceberg is right ahead, and nobody is wanting
to. That was last week's episode. We hit the iceberg, man.
Exactly.
I mean, we already hit it.
That's
funny. I still have faith that we're not drowning yet. I don't know. I hope.
No, Dave, you're right there with us playing the violin, brother. You're there in the band. That's what's happening. And it's been a pleasure playing with you. That's all I can say.
I've enjoyed it.
That's where we're at. No, but it's one of those things where I really am looking at not only this data, what you guys are doing, because it really shows you the backbone of like, you are a true patriot. And when we talk about people putting in the work, like you're putting in the work, and this is something that I want to really give you your flowers. I want to put a spotlight on not only the organization that you're with, but you are putting in the work, and you're putting yourself out there. I'm sure this is not easy. I'm sure you're like, I could be doing other things right now. Like, I could be coming up with so many different ideas that I want to do. No, you're now sucked into this. And Ryan and I talked about this when him and I talked about it. We were like, if Trump won, it looks like we now have job security. We're coming back. We're going to be doing this show. The whole goal of this show is to get us to midterms. And, it's one of those things where I don't want you to think that this is your only time here. Definitely keeping this chain open, because we'd love to have you come back on.
It's been great. I think there's a lot more to talk about, because we have a lot more in the works, and I do think, I do want to get Nathan on here, because he's the one who's really presented all of our Pennsylvania data. And speaking of, one of the craziest things for me is, after the election happened and I was digging into everything, I started digging into North Carolina, and North Carolina is terrifying right now, because they're trying to steal the North Carolina Supreme Court seat from Allison Riggs and give it to whatever Jefferson, whatever his name is, typical Southern white boy name. But anyway, they're trying to steal it because they don't accept they don't accept the results. And I think that was, they won, but she should have won a lot more, I feel like. But I was digging in. I built a North Carolina dashboard. I did some stuff there, and somebody on TikTok messaged me, and he was like the head of elections in a county in Orange County, or in North Carolina, and we talked for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and he's like, I joined because I wanted to be able to see what was going on. I want to have faith in things. And he's like, I've seen how the sausage is made now, but I still don't understand how these results are getting you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. How they just getting jumbled. Like, what's going on? How is it that it's getting in the room, it's getting in the building, it's getting into the machine, but now it's all over the place, and it's like, what was this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just does not make sense.
And we're not even talking about the bomb threats that are implemented. We're not like all the tactics that are there.
Oh, there was a
really
lot of stuff, which we have done ETAs and a lot of deep dives in, and we put together some some data like we talked about in the Pennsylvania. But one thing is when we looked at Pennsylvania, the here we'll talk about real quick Philadelphia, I believe, or is it Pittsburgh? I think it's one of the counties that used ENSNS that changed to ESNS in 2018. There was a lawsuit or a fine levied against ESNS because they illegally courted the city commissioner and like paid $425,000 to his. And now all of a sudden they start using this voting system, and Democratic precincts start disappearing in Philadelphia as well. So like I was able to do that. Yeah, it's just like there's a lot of money and a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes. And I think we finally have enough data to you say I've been going back to old years. I do that because I want to make sure that the trends are visible, and we're now at the point where we have the data to actually do that analysis.
100%.
We didn't have enough in 2016. 2020 we won, so I didn't look into it. The other side looked into it. But in 2024, now we are here, and I'm now using everything, and I have to go back because that's how I can say that there is something happening.
But that's what helps somebody like me. Like Ian will tell you, I'm a pessimist. Like I'm not easy to win over.
Like right now he's smiling, just so you know.
Pretty much. But no, I mean that's what attracts me to you guys as an organization is, you're not just saying this is our theory and we're going to go out and try and find some information to back up that theory. You've had your theory, you went out and found the information, and that's when you came out and said to everybody,
which is the difference between 2024 and 2020. They're all the lawsuits that they went through did never win anywhere. We knew we have to do our homework first and be able to present the case instead of just saying it's happening. Actually, it's always Democrat. It's always on us to actually prove something. All Republicans do is just talk. Let's be honest. I mean, but that's fine.
Well, and unfortunately, let's call it what it is. A good number of Trump voters, it doesn't matter what information we provide.
At all.
They're going to still vote for him.
Yeah.
With that, brother.
It's really it's just all together. David, thank you seriously for breaking this down, and you have to come back.
I will. I'll be back on. Me and Nathan will be back on for sure.
We'll get on
next
and even if it's just personally, you don't.
I mean, I'll come back. I had a great time tonight. So.
Yeah, this was great, man.
It was fun.
But before we do take off and give you the mic real quick, I just want to remind everybody where they can find you all and what you're doing. So those of you who may have jumped in towards the end here, David is a part of the Election Truth Alliance. For us right now, you can find them at electiontruthalliance.org. And if you're watching the video right now, then you can see up here, it has some good information about what they're doing, who they are, some of their videos. But most importantly, if you go down to the very bottom here, you will see all their social media links. So Blue Sky, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Substack. Go down there, make sure you support these people because, again, these are the folks that are down in the mud, doing the work that needs to be done, getting the actual data to support what we all are feeling, and they're not getting paid for it. So they're doing this out of the kindness of their heart, and because when you talk about patriots, I know MAGA loves to call themselves patriots, but to me, David here's a patriot because he's doing this all for free, and he's trying to just enlighten all of us a little bit so that not necessarily so we can fix this, because there might not necessarily be a fix to get Trump out of office, but we sure as hell can make sure that this doesn't happen again. So
there'll be no third term president. All right, so let's be serious.
Okay.
I just want the free and fair elections. I want the free and fair elections that they've preached that we have, because now looking into it and studying history, I've got to the place where I'm just like, have we really had a free and fair election? Have we really actually seen the will of the people actually get foretold? Because I don't think that, it doesn't make sense that, like Miami, Trump outperforms abortion and Kamala underperforms yes and no by a lot. Like that just does not make sense to me. Like it doesn't. Those type of things are the nagging pit in my stomach. So, the ETA is at electiontruithalliance.org. I'm on TikTok I think it's David.Manasco on TikTok. And I've been posting there's a lot more videos there, and on Reddit, I'm DManasco. There's a few, North Carolina down ballot things, the Maricopa, which I think you would find interesting, the Arizona
Yeah, I gotta
RLA
go read
stuff.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think you'd find that interesting. But I think it's important for us to use our voice. That's what I'm doing. I'm using my voice because I feel like I can't be silent, because if I am silent, I'm being apathetic, and we are not going to get anywhere by people not doing anything, right?
100%.
No, and so that's why I was a little scared to come on here, but it's been a great time, and I really thank y'all for inviting me, and I definitely will be back.
Oh no, I'm glad you'll be back, man. And it was a pleasure letting you have our microphone for the night. And just on a personal level, thank you for doing everything you're doing.
Positive.
And you got a lot of people here in the comment section, by the way, too, saying thank you. So, like I said, man, you guys have a lot of support what you're doing. So just keep doing what you're doing.
And that's what's going to keep us going, because that support. I've been afforded a lot of opportunities, and I've met a lot of people that I never thought I'd be able to meet. I've connected with someone who's the head of elections in my home state. I connected with a billionaire in the past few weeks, and we have regular meetings with him, and he's hopefully opening doors. So I do think we are making progress, but it's just important.
Tell George Soros we say hello.
No, we're not talking to him. I mean, that's funny. That's good.
Hey,
man.
I'll be with you all night.
Ian, you got anything, brother?
No, Dave. I'm a huge fan of yours, man. I really have to say that, and I can't stress it enough. You are a patriot. Ryan and I talk about this a lot. We're taking the flag back. We're taking the term patriot back. We're not letting people from idiocracy sit here and thinking that WWE is America. Like, it's not. Yeah. It's not. And there's so much more. And it really comes down to your brilliant mind. We talk about on this show mental health. Ryan and I get deep dive into it. Me being ADHD, me being dyslexic, like how we use our superpower and how we're really trying to navigate and just get through a lot of this. Really to get through a lot of this. And it's one of those things where when you're good at what you do, and then you really kind of just flex with it, you lean into it a lot. So I really appreciate you leaning into your gifts. That's amazing.
I'm trying to break down my findings in a way. It's hard. I do struggle with being ADHD, communicating what's going on in my brain sometimes. So like being able to effectively communicate my findings has been something for me, but it's been good to actually put that skill to use, because I think it has helped. And obviously if people are finding it, then I'm doing what's right. And I'm going to continue on that train.
You're connected, man. You're on the right track.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
So with that, you got anything else, brother?
No, man. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to sharing a cell with you, gentlemen.
Yes.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at in life.
If I see any of your numbers pop up on my cell phone, I'll be sure to pick up.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh my God, that's funny. Real quick, just a real quick one. Ian, positive. 30 seconds.
My positive is I am literally going to be doing a big thing with the family that I cannot wait to. I have 2 young ones, and I'm on paternity leave right now, David. So
I have a 2-year-old, so that's why it's hard for me to find time. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's why my schedule is so limited, because I have a 2-year-old, and
this is what we're doing. We're fighting for their future.
That's
right. That's the reality.
That's exactly why I'm here. For my daughter.
This is what we're doing. All of us are dads trying to things. So it's one of those things of just fatherhood, and get some things in the works, but new music is coming out real soon. Is what I was going to say. Being on paternity leave, I've been working on some music, so that's coming out. Good. As Ryan's been telling me that I'm slacking, so it's coming out soon. That's my positive.
That's what Big Brother.
Dave, what is positive? We like to end always the show on a positive.
Oh, my positive is I do have a daughter, and I'm watching her mind work. I can see those wheels turning, and that kind of helps me it helps me. It's that gratification when you see them try and come at a puzzle or something and see how they work through it, and it's just that's one of my.
Does it make you feel like, as a father, like I'm doing it right?
I do feel like I'm doing it right, because seeing her like mentally work through things, and that's awe-inspiring for me, and that's why I'm doing this, is because I care for her future. I want her to have a great future, just like I had growing up, and that's why I'm here today.
Yep. I think all of us fathers and mothers, I think all of us parents out here, a lot of us are fighting for that. Because I know for me, I don't want to have to pass this fight off, to them. That's kind of where I'm at with it. My positive is David being here. My
My
positive is
positive is
that,
me being here too. So
you know, I
it's been a
mean,
great night.
it really is, because the fact that people are willing to come on our platform, you know, and share your platform and your time with us, it just kind of makes me feel like we're doing something right. And you know, I may not always be able to get out in the streets and do the protests and stuff because of physical things, but you know, I'm doing as much as I can from here and supporting the people that I know are out there doing the real work. So you know, that's my positive is thank you for letting me be a part of this fight and doing the little small part that I can do. You know, it makes me feel like you know, at least I'm playing some small part in trying to figure out what the hell's going on, because I think too many Americans right now are shrugging their shoulders and just wondering what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, with that, everybody, make sure you like, subscribe. This will be available for download on all of your favorite streaming platforms within the next 24 hours. Thank you to everybody for joining us in the comment section, especially showing your support here for David and the Election Truth Alliance. These are the type of organizations we need to keep lifting up and supporting. I know Ian and I are more than happy to lend our microphone to you guys, so definitely looking forward to having you all back on. So with that, I'll leave you all as I always do with much love. Keep fighting, but most importantly, make sure you stay safe out there. And
For real.
Imagine if I had